Hello, my name is Don Becker, and for course ISDT7350 in spring of 2019, we were assigned to pick one of 5 different scenarios and to do an instructional design analysis over that scenario. For the concept of my project, I decided to choose in higher education, as that is my long-term professional goal, is to return to higher education and teach at the university level. So setting the scene of what the scenario based was is that, to summarize, you'll be working in a large university's learning center that provides, workshops and assistance to, all members of the, all the faculty and adjuncts and faculty and staff of a campus. A majority of the faculty members are really reluctant to be, to reach out to the center to get their help, and really only look for just the most basic types of assistance. A majority of the faculty consider that lecture is really the best type of instructional strategy, and only use that format, especially as it focuses on the hard sciences such as chemistry, biology, and physics. So the desire to integrate new modalities is very low. However, there is a new professor in chemistry that would like to redesign her course. She is open to new delivery methods, but does not want to release that lecture component altogether. So that way, my responsibility would be to, as a subject matter expert in designing that instruction, is I'm going to coach her on the different delivery methods available, how she doesn't have to abandon the lecture portion. It's just, instead of it being a face-to-face type of lecture, perhaps like an online or like a video type of lecture. But my job as the subject matter expert, though, is to discuss the different delivery methods available, and then advise her which would be best suited to match the pedagogical style of the content, but also in her preference as well. By doing that, we're going to kind of do a needs assessment. We're going to see, we're going to do the 5 W's and the H, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Once we've agreed on that needs analysis, on the needs assessment, and we've got the direction for our course, then it can be designed with the professor and or me, with either one of us providing the quality assurance checks at the various iteration points. And we'll discuss what those will be later on in the presentation. So for design considerations, of course, you need to have kind of an overarching type of framework to work on. And for the matters of developing this instruction through in a higher education course, we're going to rely heavily on the Quality Matters rubric. Now, what Quality Matters does, it defines best practices for designing online instruction in higher education. Inside the rubric, it defines that we need to have clear learning objectives, and that is an essential necessity when converting from a straight lecture course to having one more hybrid and more online instruction available. And of course, the design of the course, it needs to meet the needs of their adult learners. What would be an effective methodology for an art class or for a math class may not be effective for teaching a college-level chemistry class. So we have to be aware of those needs from those adult learners. Of course, there has to be that link to the content and pedagogy, foundationally using TPAC, which we'll discuss a little bit later on. And then finally, the last major design consideration is going to be the accessibility and usability, specifically within the framework of the American Disabilities Act. That is essential when developing any kind of online course, because we have to be aware, culturally aware, and sensitively aware of restricting the learning from anyone. We have to be inclusive to all learners, and by designing the course with those ADA compliance regulations in place, that just makes sure that all students that can take that course will be able to, and be on an even playing field. Going a little bit deeper into cultural factors, we have to address whatever the societal and cultural factors are for the learners. That takes great care and awareness, not only for, as we talked just a moment ago, regarding the ADA compliance, but we also have to look at cultural and societal norms and expectations as well. Those things, those factors are related to the different modalities of learning for that specific learner. As we personalize this learning, that is going to play a factor. These modalities absolutely need to be addressed when designing an instruction. Now, Sharif and Gisbert developed this really fascinating figure on how cultural and societal factors can be related to the different modalities of learning. You have up on top, you have those societal and personal ones. And how each of them are interacted with each other. You have disciplinary down here, and then organizational over here. And you see you have these arrows on how each one of these, the learners and instructional designers both affect the beliefs and social relationships and temporal perceptions. You have how all these different factors can be interrelated to each other. I think it was a really, really great figure that they've had in their journal article, and I felt that that's a great way to express and how to address those societal and cultural factors. Now, for the instructional design process and the actual meat and potatoes of how we're going to, the framework of how we're going to design the course, no need to reinvent the wheel, especially not with someone that already has hesitations regarding the development of a course. Sticking with a very simple ADDIE model is going to be the best route to take with this instructor. We've already done a needs analysis to take care of together, and then as we go through the design and the development of that course, then it'll be implemented in the class, and then as we go through, we'll continue to evaluate and then see whatever else needs to be updated with it. However, the process is of coaching this professor and teaching this professor of how to be able to convert their courses. And so, in addition to the IDEA model, but also going to implement the gradual release of responsibility framework that was developed by Pearson and Gallagher, where it starts off initially with the teacher responsibility, being myself as the teacher in this case, is beginning to show them how to do it, giving them the foundational framework about how to do this, and then working together directly with that professor, saying with us doing it together, and then beginning to additionally release it, make it more on the collaborative side as the professor, as that professor who is the student takes greater responsibility on developing that type of curriculum, developing their course, while I provide that guidance and those quality assurance checks. Until finally, as the teacher feels comfortable, as the chemistry professor feels comfortable with the process, they'll be able to do that for future iterations of that course and also other courses that she teaches. She'll be able to do that with, if need be, the ability to go back and ask for a little bit of guidance, but it's not going to be a full responsibility on my part, or even partially. It's 5% at most of the development of that course going forward in that point in time. I've gradually released that responsibility from myself on the design of the course to the professor. And then once they've been able to diffuse that and they can see, they'll be able to create those courses on their own. The technology component for the instructional design model, I'm going to follow the TPAC framework for instructional technology integration. TPAC is the foundational and incredibly effective method for technology integration in any kind of curriculum. So it doesn't rely strictly on technology or strictly on content or strictly on pedagogy. It is the interworking and interconnectivity of those three working in congruence with each other to create a technology-rich, pedagogically sound content that is delivered to the students. Here's my reference page. I noticed that after I took my screenshot of them that they were not in alphabetical order, but these are the references that I used in creation of my project.